Hello and welcome. I'm Saeed from StoryPlanet.net. Dive right into the essence of the most captivating books without reading them cover to cover. Whether you're on the go, at the gym, or just relaxing at home, we offer you a unique and enriching listening experience. Today, we are exploring the book Call Sign Chaos, a creation by Jim Mattis, Bing West. In Call Sign Chaos, 2019, General Jim Mattis offers a unique perspective on U.S. foreign policy, drawing from his extensive experience as a strategic thinker. The book covers his remarkable career, from his early enlistment in the Marines to his commanding role in Afghanistan and Iraq. Through a personal lens, the summarizer delves into the intricacies of the American military. Before we delve into these revelations, it's interesting to note that Jim Mattis, a native of the American Pacific Northwest, boasts over 40 years of experience as a Marine officer. Widely regarded as one of the most esteemed generals in the United States, Mattis held prestigious positions, including Commander of the U.S. Joint Forces Command and Commander of the U.S. Central Command. In 2017, President Donald Trump appointed him as Secretary of Defense, a role in which he served for 2 years. Currently, Mattis serves as the Davies Family Distinguished Fellow at the Hoover Institution at Stanford University. Similarly, Bing West, a retired Marine and former Assistant Secretary of Defense, has penned 10 books on warfare. He is also a member of the Military History Working Group at the Hoover Institution. With 9 key ideas to unveil, brace yourself for a deep dive into this captivating book on StoryPlanet.net. To start, this text is about an in-depth study of U.S. military strategy, which aims to answer the question of what individuals can gain from it. The text discusses the U.S.'s involvement in 3 major wars in the Middle East and Central Asia over the past 30 years. The First War, in 1991, resulted in a decisive victory in expelling Iraqi forces from Kuwait. However, the Second and Third Wars, in Afghanistan in 2001 and Iraq in 2003, were not as successful. The US military aimed to avoid getting stuck in an endless guerrilla war like the Soviet Union did in Afghanistan in the 1980s. The Taliban regime was overthrown in Afghanistan, but Osama bin Laden escaped. In Iraq, there was a swift military victory, followed by years of bloodshed. The text also mentions that General Jim Mattis, who commanded Marines in all 3 wars, can provide insight into American strategy and military planning. The mistakes made in the Iraq campaign, such as disbanding the Iraqi army and the withdrawal of American forces in 2011, leading to the formation of ISIS, are discussed. Key idea number 1. Jim Mattis, a carefree youth, found his sense of purpose in the Marines. In 1971, Jim Mattis had a near-death experience while hiking in Washington state. This moment led him to realize he wanted to spend his career with the Marines, as their values aligned with his upbringing and sense of adventure. Mattis grew up around soldiers and military engineers in Richland, Washington, and his parents encouraged his sense of adventure. He enrolled in a summer officer training program in Quantico, Virginia, where he found purpose and stayed committed despite challenges. Key idea number 2. Mattis developed his leadership skills during the difficult time of the Vietnam War. Mattis was commissioned as a Marine officer in 1972 and underwent basic infantry training. He joined a Marine regiment stationed in Japan during a turbulent time for the U.S. military. To combat the eroded discipline caused by drug use and racial tension, leaders like Mattis needed to be tougher than ever before. Mattis attributes his success as a leader to competence, care, and conviction. Competence in basic skills is essential for earning respect from subordinates. Care involves helping Marines grow and become effective. Conviction is displayed through consistent and fair rule enforcement, which allows leaders to win their men's trust and loyalty. Key idea number 3. Mattis was in charge of the U.S. attack on Iraqi forces during the First Gulf War. In 1990, Mattis, a lieutenant colonel in the military, was given command of the 1st Battalion in the 7th Marine Regiment. He led his unit in the First Gulf War, where they successfully breached Iraqi defenses and opened a corridor for U.S. troops to enter Kuwait. The campaign was a success, with over 20,000 US troops pouring through the opened corridors and Kuwait being liberated. Mattis's unit didn't lose any Marines in the fight. The First Gulf War was seen as a model military campaign. Key idea number 4. Mattis had to wait to join the fight against al-Qaeda due to outdated strategic thinking. On September 11, 2001, General Mattis, deputy commander of I Marine Expeditionary Force, heard about the terrorist attacks and believed it was the work of al-Qaeda. President George W. Bush ordered airstrikes against al-Qaeda and the Taliban. Mattis and his Marines wanted to join the fight, but General Tommy Franks didn't see a role for them. However, Vice Admiral Willie Moore recognized the importance of striking Kandahar before it could be fortified, so they devised a plan to land 4,000 Marines near Kandahar and establish a new front in the war against terrorism. Key idea number 5. Mattis played a role in removing the Taliban in Afghanistan, but was not allowed to go after Osama bin Laden. In November 2001, General Mattis led an amphibious assault in southern Afghanistan, establishing Camp Rhino as a vital base against al-Qaeda and the Taliban. This was a devastating blow to the enemy's plans. At the same time, the Northern Alliance, led by Hamid Karzai, gained momentum and heard of the successful assault on Kandahar. Despite their triumph, Mattis was disappointed as they missed the chance to capture bin Laden in the Tora Bora cave complex due to orders from General Franks to avoid getting involved in a guerrilla war. Key idea number 6. Mattis, despite his reservations, led his Marines into Iraq in 2003. In early 2002, Mattis returned to Pendleton, California, as a major general. He commanded the 1st Marine Division and was uneasy about the decision to invade Iraq. Despite his doubts, Mattis accepted his role as a military officer to execute the decisions made by politicians. He prepared his Marines for war through elaborate war games, anticipating a swift victory. On March 20, 2003, Mattis entered Iraq, and his Marines made rapid progress. They faced heavy fighting in Baghdad, but ultimately overthrew Saddam Hussein by April 12. This victory was just the beginning of the challenges that lay ahead. Key idea number 7. Iraqi soldiers and civilians were alienated due to poor planning. Chaos erupted in Iraq after Saddam Hussein's regime fell, with police disappearing and essential services failing. Religious tensions between Shiite and Sunni factions threatened to escalate into a civil war. The US had to maintain peace after their military victory. The Iraqi army played a crucial role in this, as its defeat left many unemployed and potentially turned them into a guerrilla force against US troops. Mattis and his officers devised a plan to pay Iraqi soldiers to return to their barracks and be enrolled in a new army, but their plan was rejected by Paul Bremer, who disbanded the army and banned the ruling Ba'ath Party from public office. This decision set capable and dangerous individuals against the US. There were also mix-ups with local elections, causing confusion among military leaders. Mattis returned to the US uncertain about Iraq's future and whether he had achieved a better state of peace. Key idea number 8. Both force and de-escalation strategies were abandoned too soon in post-war Iraq. In 2004, General Mattis was sent to Anbar, Iraq, to put an end to the growing insurgency by AQI. He instructed his troops to behave respectfully towards locals to avoid alienation, but his superiors in Washington wanted a forceful response after American contractors were ambushed. Despite his concerns about alienating the locals, Mattis prepared for an attack on Fallujah. The assault caused fighting to explode across the country and led to civilian casualties. The United Nations threatened to pull out its representatives unless the assault was ended. Mattis believed he could finish off Zarqawi, but was ordered to hold back. Key idea number 9. The premature withdrawal of US forces from Iraq allowed ISIS to emerge. After a 2-year break, Mattis returned to Iraq in 2006 to prove the Iraq War wasn't lost. He cultivated relationships with local tribal leaders and formed the Anbar Awakening, resulting in stability. But when troops were withdrawn in 2011, Iraq slipped back into violence and ISIS emerged. This could have been prevented. In conclusion, in 1970, Jim Mattis joined the Marines during a challenging period for the military. He became a successful leader in the all-volunteer force. In 1990, he led a successful campaign in Kuwait. However, his later participation in Afghanistan and Iraq was hindered by outdated strategies and mistakes. Thank you for listening to this summary. If you enjoyed this exploration, we invite you to discover other fascinating books on storyplanet.net. Don't wait any longer. A multitude of books, stories, and knowledge await you there. See you soon on storyplanet.net.